stand right there, mister. And don't get sudden.
Hey, kid, what do you think you're doing?
I'm gonna take your horse. Now you just unbuckle your gun belt and toss it right here. Now, mister!
I guess you heard they hang horse thieves.
Yes, sir. You just stand there real easy.
What are you looking for?
You got any grub?
Nope.
Never heard of a man riding range didn't at least have a little bit of jerky?
Well, you just met one.
We'll just have to go without it.
Veronica! You all right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Good.
Yeah, you're a good fella. Oh.
You want to ride?
No, thank you.
Suit yourself.
He's putting that food away like he hasn't eaten in a month of Sundays.
3 days.
Well, what are we going to do with him?
Wash him.
Oh! Hold on! Go easy! Dang, your whiskers are taking the meat off!
I just barely got down through 3 layers of gravel. Pretty soon I'm gonna hit bedrock.
Cut it out! Hang it all, when I get through, I'm not gonna have any meat left on my body. Get that female out of here!
Oh, she isn't gonna see anything through the scum on this water.
It ain't decent.
Well, I found some old clothes that might fit him. You know, he's starting to look like quite a nice little boy.
Nice little boy, me, you big girl.
You give me that brush or I'm gonna take it away from you and use it on your backside where it'll do the most good.
And I don't want any of your old clothes. What do you do with my own duds?
We burn them so as they wouldn't contaminate the stock.
Who told you or anybody else to burn my clothes? Ain't a man got any rights around here?
Ball of string, 2 cat's eyes, $1.37, jackknife with a broken blade. Nothing to tell us who he is or where he's from.
What's this for?
Well, it's half fare for one on the stage from McCall's Crossing to Sacramento. Where's McCall's Crossing?
That's about 50 miles south of here.
Hairy hands off me, you dang fuzzy cattywampus. I ain't going nowhere.
Get out of here, varmint.
Billy, what happened?
We have just had our bath. I'm gonna go get a dry shirt.
Well, don't you think we ought to have a name for you?
That's for me to know and you to find out, mister.
Hey. I bet you're a pretty tough kid.
You betcha. Mean? Ain't but one that's meaner, and that's my pa. And if he ever finds out what you've been doing to me, you just better watch out.
Oh, yes, your father. It seems to me I've heard of him. Now, he'd be...
Andrew... Oh, no. I ain't leaking no names.
Well, what are we supposed to do with you then?
You just turn me loose.
Well, looks like we'll have to send someone down to McCall's Crossing after all. See if anyone's missing a kid.
What do you know about McCall's Crossing? Well, I'll be hanged if you ain't the dangest bunch of hide binders I ever did see. Pull through a man's pockets and help yourself with everything he's got. You ain't got no more respect for a man's property rights than you have for his personal rights. You ain't no better than a pack of road agents.
Teresa?
Hey, wait a minute, where you two going?
He's your wolf cub. You tame him.
Come on,
You just better take it easy, mister.
come over here.
I ain't that crazy.
You know, my stepfather used to want me. Teach me some manners.
Hey, why don't you sit down like a civilized human being?
I'd just as soon stand.
Got whooped, huh?
Just let me catch that Johnny with a rock in my hand. I'll raise some knots on his head.
I wouldn't advise it.
And why not?
Well, I'll tell you why not, because Johnny used to be a hired gun. Was the fastest thing this side of the Mississippi or east of China.
Is that a fact?
That's a fact. Well, one time I saw him draw down on a rattlesnake and shoot so fast that poor rattlesnake crawled around for 3 days before he even knew he was dead.
How much do you think a man like that would hire out for?
Johnny don't hire out anymore. Those days is gone, long gone. That's not all. Got away with your horse, Johnny.
Again?
Well, I'll say one thing for him. He's persistent.
Where'd I catch that kid?
Johnny, what are you gonna do when you find him?
I don't know yet. Hey, kid!
Oh, boy, am I glad to see you. What are you doing?
You know something? You've caused me a lot of trouble. You've caused me a lot of trouble.
Nobody asked you to trail after me.
You happen to have left with my horse, kid.
Oh, I was fixing to send him back.
Yeah, sure you were.
Well, I would. I didn't know horse thief. Johnny, don't. If I wanted to keep your horse, why didn't I just blow your head off when you come sneaking through
Give me
there?
that. Why didn't you?
Because I like you.
I don't believe you.
Iron thing's broke.
Now, for once and for all, are you going to tell me what you're doing out here?
All right, all right. It doesn't matter now anyway. I made such a mess of everything. I didn't get me a gun or a killer or anything else I started out
Wait
to
a
get.
minute. What are you talking about a killer?
Well, that was after I talked to the law in Stockton, and they just laughed at me, so I decided to hire me a gun and handle things myself.
Handle what things? What do you need the law for?
To get after them devils for what they did to my pa.
Now, wait a minute. Are you hungry? Now, I want to start from the beginning. Let's start with your pa, okay?
My pa? That's my pa. He was the kindest, goodest man you ever saw. Never hurt nobody. He wasn't about to let them miserable sidewinders take over our water. Dan Marvin was one of them. Old Toby Jenks was the other. They joined up and went looking for my pa. They didn't know what they was up to, though. My pa was one of the best and bravest you ever saw. They was figuring on taking him by surprise. They were going to chase him off the land. But when they saw he was ready for him, they started eating humble pie. My father never figured to be took from behind. He was too noble to think of a thing like that. They took him, and they dragged him.
Why'd they chase your pa off the land?
Them two sheep-stealing varmints is gobbling up the whole country between them and chasing the homesteaders off. My pa was organizing the little fellers against him. They had to kill him. That's why I took your horse. I was going to sell him and hire me a gunman. I figured when we got our place back, I'd pay you for your horse. Like I said, Johnny, I'm not a horse thief.
Hey, kid. You know what you can get from my horse? $25 without a bill of sale. What kind of gun do you expect to get for that?
Somebody like Jack Slade?
Come again?
Wes Hardin, maybe?
Kid, you're talking about expensive guns.
Oh, I got $1.37, too. That makes $26.37. What could I get for that?
Oh, some broke-down bargain counter third-rater. Might take the job.
That's all? I mean, a real hot gun wouldn't take it?
No, afraid not. You better get some sleep. We got an early start.
Where to?
We're going back to McCall's Crossing.
Not without a hired gun, I ain't. You can drag me there, but I'll squidge out of there faster than you can see. Nothing live's gonna keep me there.
Well, we'll see about that. Now take that blanket and, sack in.
Pa?
Kid, you know, I've been out of touch a while, but I wouldn't mind hiring out for short money.
For $25?
How about $26.37?
Good night, Johnny. Dory!
Andy! 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 Oh, Andy, you little devil, where have you been?
Hang it all, Dory. Quit carrying on.
Carrying on. I ought to paddle your bottom.
Well, I wouldn't do that, ma'am. His bottom's pretty well worn out.
Who are you?
This here's Johnny Lancer, Dory. Johnny, say howdy to my sister Dory.
Howdy. My pleasure, ma'am.
Well, it ain't mine. What are you doing with this boy?
Cut it out, Dory. Johnny came here to help us. And you ought to see him handle a gun.
Get in the house, Andy. Go on, beat it. Go on.
I'll see you later, Johnny.
We gotta talk, mister. Come on inside. Now, what's all this about helping us?
The boy said you were having some trouble.
Well, we're not having any trouble. And we don't need you or anybody like you.
Well, I'm real pleased to hear that, ma'am.
Guess he was filling you with all kinds of nonsense about our pa, huh? About how he got killed by Dan Marvin and Toby Jenks?
Well, the boy said your pa had to scare him off his water hole.
Scare him off? Mister, with all due respect, my pa couldn't scare flies off biscuits. He wasn't anything the way Andy pretends. He was a good man, but he was weak, and he had a lot of bad habits. Found all his courage in a bottle. Like most weak men, Pa made a lot of big talk, caused a lot of trouble among the other settlers. Mr. Marvin and Mr. Jenks rode out to talk to him. Pa would have run, but it was too late. Then he was glad he didn't. Well, they made him a good offer to stop making trouble. Said they'd locate him on a better section of land, even throw in $100 to boot. Pa agreed and celebrated with a few drinks. And that's how it was. No trouble for anybody.
How'd your pa die?
He got drunk celebrating. Fell off his horse coming home.
Well, that's the way it was.
I'd ask you to stay for supper, but
Thanks anyway.
well, thanks for bringing Andy home.
Johnny! Hey! Hey, where are you going?
Going home.
Mister, we had a deal.
Deal's off, kid.
Listen, I got my pa's watch. It's gold and it's worth $15. I can raise another 10 somehow. That would make 25 more.
Andy, you got things mixed up. Go on home.
Yes, sir. Another 6 months. This place will be dead as a mackerel. Won't be nothing to support it, but Dan Marvin's hands from the bar M. Toby Jenks, hands from the double bar. Those two fellers wanted this place to themselves. By golly, they got it.
Yeah, I know. I heard they were putting the old squeeze on the homesteaders again.
Squeeze. That were no squeeze. That were a crunch. A big crunch.
Shoot 'em up, burn 'em out.
Oh, no, nothing like that. Old Toby, old Dan, they works finer than that. First, they just run a few of their cows into somebody's land after cutting the fence. Then if the fella went to the law, well, they just go in and shoot his place up. Never hurt nobody, no. Unless it were an accident. But they just pepper the walls and bust a few windows, you know.
Well, then what?
Well, the fella'd get the message and legit.
You mean to say nobody tried to fight back?
Oh, sure, they tried. But old Andy Cutler getting killed sort of took the tucker out of him.
What about Cutler?
Well, he was stirring up the folks to fight back, organizing the nesters, you know. Dad blamed if he don't end up with a busted neck.
How did it happen?
Got dragged by a horse.
Why'd you come back?
Your brother told me your pa was dragged by a horse.
Well, I told you before he's got fancies where Pa's concerned.
The man at the barber shop told me the same story. Can I come in?
Well, everybody knows that Whitley Scruggs is the biggest liar in town anyway. Oh, look, why don't you just go away and leave?
Why'd you tell me that story about your father?
Because I don't want any more trouble. Look, I didn't like to say those things about my pa. Nobody likes to say that kind of thing about their pa.
How did he die?
He was dragged.
Jinx and Marvin, huh?
I don't know. Said they didn't have anything to do with it.
You believe him?
Oh, I don't know. They were real nice to us afterwards. Said they were sorry, it was an accident. They gave this place to Andy and me. They even gave us $200 they said they promised Pa. Look, this place is all we got. 80 acres. But it's enough to keep Andy and me going. Now, my pa is dead, mister, but Andy and me got to keep on living. Don't you understand that?
Yeah, I understand that. But what about Andy?
Andy will get over it in time.
Oh, you're wrong. I know because I was a kid pretty much like Andy. I grew up hating. And I spent all my time learning to use this gun. Some education, huh? Andy's got killing on his mind. Hate and killing.
Well, he'll grow out of it. He's just a boy.
Dory, it's the boy that makes the man.
Well, what do you want me to do about it?
Make sure Marvin and Jinx get what's coming to him before Andy's old enough to take him on himself.
Well, that's just fine. You tell me how.
Tell Andy I'll pick him up first thing in the morning.
What's on the other side, kid?
Toby Jenks Barcross land.
What about this side?
Dan Marvin's M brand.
You know what it says about the wicked in the Bible?
Something about they fleeth when no one pursueth. Never could figure that one out.
Well, I'm going to give you a practical demonstration. You stay here.
Set a spell. Somebody just tore down a section of fence and drove my cows onto your land.
What?
Oh, that surprise you?
Why, sure does. Who'd do a thing like that?
I wouldn't know unless you do.
Wait a minute. You're not saying that I'd push your cows onto my land?
I ain't saying you did. And I ain't saying you didn't. All I'm saying is the next time it happens, there's going to be an awful lot of dead bar-cross stock. Come on, boys.
Here, wait a minute!
What kind of stunt is old Dan pulling, boss?
Oh, whatever it is. Just hope he ain't fool enough to think he can pull it on me.
Don't some of those men fire back?
Some of your men, get up and shoot back.
Why doesn't somebody do something?
Well, I reckon it ain't disposed to, Mr. Marvin.
If I get my hands on that Toby, I'll skin him alive and use his hide for razor strops.
Well, I don't know how you did it, Johnny. You've caused more ruckus around here in 1 week than we've seen in 5 years.
That's so.
I'll bet you we got us a real range war going inside of a week.
Pass the butter. We don't want to let a thing like that happen.
Well, ain't that the general idea?
Well, a man can get killed in that kind of a fracas.
Well?
Annie, don't you ever get to a point where you take killing lightly. It's not a good thing to kill a man or cause a man to get killed. It makes you sick inside.
Yeah, gosh, anyway.
Stop cussing, Andy, and eat your breakfast. And listen to Johnny. But I'm afraid he's right, Johnny. You've started something now, and I don't see how it can be stopped.
Pass the syrup.
I know this Johnny Madrid down on the border. Suddenest man you ever saw. I seen him take on a passel of border toughs once. It was pitiful what he did to their clothes.
What do you mean? What did he do to their clothes?
He just ruined them with bullet holes. Boss, the thing is, Johnny Madrid ain't in these parts for the salubrious climate. Somebody brought him in with killing in mind.
Dan Marvin.
It'd have to be someone like Dan Marvin. Madrid's an awful expensive gun to hire.
Sheriff?
Evening.
You know a man by the name of,
Marvin.
Dan Marvin?
Well, sure, stranger. Everybody knows Dan Marvin.
Well, will you tell him I want to see him at the hotel tomorrow? About 12 noon.
Well, who will I tell wants him?
Madrid. Johnny Madrid.
you want to see me about?
Oh, I just want to get a look at you, Mr. Marvin. You look to me about 6 foot.
What's that got to do with anything?
And I'd say you're about 200 pounds.
195. What are you getting at?
Mr. Marvin, have you been attending church? I mean, have you been staying on the right side of the Lord?
Why?
Well, because it's always a comfort for a man to think of the kingdom that is to come. Nice talking to you, Mr. Marvin.
What do you want, Mr. Marvin? I don't know.
Set him up. Anybody watching?
Yeah, old Lucky Morgan was peeking out from top of the barn.
Lucky Morgan?
You know him, huh?
Yeah, I know Lefty.
He's about as tough as they come around here.
Well, I guess we ain't got much to worry about. And, we better get going, huh, Andy?
Okay.
Shooting about?
Mr. Madrid practicing on bottles.
How many did he hit?
All of them. Hit every one right in the neck. Sure pleasures a man to see fine shooting like that. Excuse me, Sheriff.
Right in the neck. Every single one of them.
I want to talk to you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Jenks.
I want Dan Marvin placed under a peace bond before somebody gets hurt.
Well, I don't know about that. Seems to me if anybody ought to be bonded, it'd be you, Mr. Jenks.
What for, you old fool?
Well, I guess you ought to know. Bringing in a gunman like that Johnny Madrid to do your dirty work for you?
Why, you blamed idiot. I didn't bring him in. Dan Marvin's the man that hired him.
He did?
Sure he did. That's why I want to know what you're going to do about it. Well, what are you going to do about it?
The only thing I can do. Resign.
What the help he turned out to be.
Maybe he was. He seemed to think you hired Madrid.
Oh, that's a lot of foolishness. If Dan Marvin didn't hire him, who did?
Well, if it isn't Lucky Morgan.
Howdy, Johnny.
Howdy.
I'd like you to meet my boss. This is Mr. Jenks.
Mr. Jenks, I was intending on looking you up. Have a seat.
You say you're fixing to look me up?
Sooner or later. Looks like it's going to be sooner.
I'm not wearing a gun, Madrid.
That don't make no difference. Right, Lucky? What's on your mind?
Oh, I'll come right out in the open. I know what fetched you to this town.
You do?
And I'm going to give you double any deal Dan Marvin made you.
Oh, Mr. Marvin would sure love to hear that.
Don't play with me, Madrid.
Mr. Jinx, you are getting yourself in a pucker. A man your age getting so upset. We all gotta go sometime, don't we? Lucky, I think we better take your boss in for a drink. I think he needs one. Come on, maybe we can talk business.
All right. Now we know where we stand. Toby Jinx hired Madrid. Anybody doubt it? And now I'll tell you what we're going to do about it. Tomorrow we ride into town and have a showdown with Jinx and his hired killer.
You know, I learned a lot about Dan and Toby today. You know they were the first ones in this country? They opened it up, made it safe. Fought Indians, drought.
Well, that don't give them no right to run people off their land and then kill them when they don't run.
No, but it kind of explains how they feel about things, doesn't it? Suppose, Andy, you build up a big place with all kinds of trouble, and then a lot of people start moving in and putting up fences, keeping your cattle away from the water, ruining your graze. What would you do?
I'd massacre them. Just the same. That didn't give them no right to kill my pa.
Johnny, are you sure we're doing the right thing?
Man who says he's sure of anything has to be a fool. Look, let's just hope Andy works the bitterness out of him. Oh, I'm getting back to my rocking chair.
Johnny, how is all this going to end?
We'll know any day.
Tomorrow's Saturday. Dan Marvin will be riding into town. This time we get a chance to settle it, once and for all. Now, are you with me?
Mr. Jenks, it's one thing to run off a passel of sodbusters, but this Johnny Madrid...
I've been paying you good wages. It's time you earned it. All right. He's only one man. Ain't that right? All right, that settles it. Tomorrow's the showdown.
Came in to watch the fun.
This is not fun! Get inside here.
cold, Dan.
You're holding all the aces, Toby.
Don't play with me. I deserve better than that from you, Dan. Tell your killer to do the thing you paid him for.
My killer? You brought him here,
Wait a minute.
didn't you?
Good morning.
Madrid, tell us who brought you here.
A man named Cutler.
Cutler.
Andrew Cutler?
Why?
Heard you had him killed. Horse dragged him. Well?
That ain't exactly the way it happened.
Suppose you tell me how it was.
Well, we rode out to ask Cutler to stop stirring up the sodbusters. We didn't want them on our land, but we didn't want a war. That's what it would have come to if he kept agitating them.
Well, he was fencing up the water hole when we got there. Cutler never was managed good with horses. Well, this horse, a 2-year-old could have managed. Pretty funny watching him claw him for leather.
He had his mouth full of mane. He was hanging on with his teeth.
So funny, we sat there and roared our heads off. The more we laughed, the more the horse bucked.
Yeah, then it wasn't funny anymore. He rode off with him at a full gallop, and his foot caught in the stirrup, and he got dragged over some rough ground.
By the time we got to him, Cutler was dead.
Yeah.
That's the way it was, Madrid. An accident.
Come on out, Andy.
What's the boy doing here?
This is the Cutler that hired me. You heard him, kid.
They killed my pa. I don't care how it happened. It's because of them that he's dead.
Well, you just take a good look at him. Because in a second or two, they can be dead. Oh, they'll try me, kid, but they know their chances. So you tell me when.
But come on, what are you waiting for?
It's up to the kid to say when. You know, it's easy to kill a man, but it's impossible to bring him back to life again. So, you give me the word. Come on, Andy. You've been aching for a killing. Don't you keep them waiting. Maybe I'd better start this dance myself.
No, no, don't. Leave him alone. Please, Johnny. I didn't know what I was doing.
Let's go home. Take care of him for me, will you?
Well, you've been gone for a long time. Where have you been?
Oh, just sitting in a rocking chair, rocking.